Hello, thank you for joining me. I'm outside Bristol Templemead Station, and today is another episode of largest town in the county without a railway station. If you're watching this video in a few years' time, the place we're going to may well have a railway station by then, but it currently doesn't. So hanging around here at the station isn't really going to get me anywhere. What I've got to do, I've got to walk across Bristol to the bus station, and I'm going to catch a bus to the largest town in Somerset without a railway station. Here we are, I'm at the bus and coach station. It's taken me about 25 minutes to walk here. There probably are buses you could get to here, but yeah, I like to walk. Anyway, I need to go in there and I'm going to find a bus to Portishead. Portishead is where we're going to. At the time of filming, it's the largest town in Somerset without a railway station. There we are, we're on the bus on the way to Portishead. We've just passed through the village of Abbottsley and we should soon be passing through Hill, which if they do reopen the railway, there will also be a station at Pill. There's quite a good view heading out. You can see across to Wales. I don't know if the camera's picking it out, but we're quite high up, so it's quite an interesting and scenic journey. Now, as for there getting a railway back to Portishead, it's something that's been discussed for years. When we get there, we're going to look at the future site of the station. We're going to look at past stations and just generally have a look around the town. But it seems to be one of those ones, every time an election's coming up, a railway to Portishead again is promised. It never seems to happen. Well, it looks like it might this time actually be happening. Well, if you're watching this video in a few years' time, you'll probably be saying, but we have got a railway station in Portishead, and I hope you do, but currently it doesn't. What it does have is a railway to Portishead docks that they reopened the railway to Portishead docks, so you get goods trains going up and down the line, and they actually go under Clifton Suspension Bridge. I was up there yesterday and I could see the old railway, the reopened railway. See there, you see a sign, it says Pill. So when Portishead does get its railway station back, I'll come and do a video on that and I'll visit Pill. I have done a few other videos in Bristol of new railway stations which have opened.
Next stop, St Catherine's School.
Just over the other side of the river was Portbury Park and Ride. There was also Ashley Down, so there's some new railway stations which I have done videos on. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm going to continue on enjoying the bus ride if I can when we go through. So we're just coming into Ham Green and Pill. So like I say, Pill will get a railway station hopefully in the future. So you can expect to see Pill on this channel when the railway reopens. Here we are in Portishead. I've just got off at this temporary bus stop because they're building a new bus stop just down there. So it's good to see they're investing in their transport infrastructure, but hopefully that will soon be the railway. We'll come on to that soon. Oh, and also conveniently, couldn't have made that up. They've just dropped me off by the Wetherspoons, which is where I'll be going to have lunch. But first, I feel I need to have a look around Portishead. So what we're going to do, go for a little look around, just see a few of the sites. Not much of the sites, just a little look around, and then we'll look at former railway stations and then the railway station of the future. Well, here we are outside the Waitrose. The reason I like to include the Waitrose in these largest town in the county without a railway station series is it helps to give a bit of an idea of what the town's like. Now I know, I've seen reports over the years, Portishead is known as a posh town. And having a Waitrose adds to that. As we're going to see later, we're going to see some upmarket housing developments around the marina near where one of the railway stations was. Portishead also has a very low crime rate. Now you might be able to argue that's partly because it hasn't got a railway station, although still I do think having a railway station would add to the general everything for the town really. And it did take a long time, nearly an hour to get here by bus. Quite an interesting route. It went down some country lanes and round some interesting looking villages. If there was a railway station, it would probably take no more than 25 minutes to get to Bristol, calling at Pill, and then probably when it joins the Great Western Main Line, maybe stopping at Parsons Street and Bedminster. So it really would improve the town if it did have a railway station. The other thing I found rather amusing, when getting my free coffee, I noticed on the machines it said you must be over 18 to use these machines. So maybe one of the biggest problems they have in Portishead is under 18 signing up to my Waitrose and getting free coffees. I don't know, but I've never seen that on all the Waitrose I've been to on all the coffee machines. Anyway, enough about Waitrose, let's go and explore this town. So from Waitrose, I've been walking up through a relatively pleasant housing estate. It reminds me a bit of a posher version of Weymouth, and now I've found myself here at Rodmore Gardens. Just gonna walk through here. Just looks like a pleasant rose garden. Admittedly, I knew nothing about these gardens. I just saw it and I said I'd change the size. I'm actually heading to the beach. I just thought let's get this in the video, because look, it looks great. This is the kind of thing I really like to see when I visit town. Just a nice little garden that looks nice. Someone clearly comes and cares for it, and yeah, it just adds to the town. But behind those trees, somewhere down there, is the beach. That's where I'm heading for now. A moment ago I was up there at Rodwell Gardens. I've now come down to what I understand is called the lake grounds, because there's a lake here. This is all very pleasant. I really like it. Look, you've got nice houses up on the banks over there. It is a little bit windy, but that is because just over there, beyond that bank, is the beach. We're going to go there, probably keep that section fairly brief because it's quite windy, and then we're going to head back to the town centre. So from where we were a moment ago by the lake, I've just walked along the road, come down these steps, and here is the beach. This is probably technically still the Severn Estuary rather than the sea. It certainly is tidal, but looking across over there, that is South Wales. And just see somewhere about there is Newport, and over there is Cardiff. Maybe one day we'll do some of the largest towns in Welsh counties without a railway station. It's a lot more complicated because you've got the preserved counties and you've got the historical counties. But anyway, something for me to worry about in the future. But it'd be nice to do it one day. But we'll certainly make our way around all the English counties, the largest ones, without a railway station. The other thing I discovered with Portishead, which I find quite interesting, is, like I say, it's a fairly large town. It's a large town, Somerset without a railway station. It's approximately 26,000. You've got all of this part of Portishead, all along the hills, looking out over the estuary. That's one area, pretty much all residential. And then you've got where the town centre is, which we haven't really seen yet. To the other side of that, you've got all the upmarket flats and everything, and houses built around the old marina. And that's where we're going to head to next. So it's really a town. It's got two different feels to it. But like I say, it's a posh town. It's a really nice town. Just hasn't got a railway station. But we're going to go now and have a look and see where some of the former railway stations used to be, and where a railway station in the future will be. Well, here we are. I am above the town. Down there is the marina area, which I was saying about. We're heading for that. There's this hill called Wood Hill, and where we were was, I understand, is Wood Hill Bay. This is a pleasant way just to walk between two parts of the town. It's mainly through woodland. I always find walking through woodland is a really nice, calming thing to do, and then every now and then I get a break, you get views like this. But like I say, that's the other part of the town, the part of town we haven't explored, and it's very different to where we've just been. So if I continue on down this path, I should come to the end of the woodland. The hill should literally run out. I should walk down, and we'll hopefully find the furthest point the railways once reached in Portishead. I was up there a moment ago on the hill. I've just come down to, this is the marina development I was saying about. We're going to walk through there. At this point, this is where the tide's out. See, there's a lock just there. I think this is the second highest tide in the world. I know that's why Bristol had to build the floating harbour. So it's a similar thing here. They've had to build a floating harbour, which you'll see in a moment. But see, there's all these modern flats, a lot of them adding to Portishead's size and not having a railway station. Anyway, I thought it was very important that we came to here, because through the fence we can't go onto that. That's the pier. That is where the railway once ended. Not for passengers, but the tracks continued, and they literally finished there. You may just be able to see through there, with the camera's picking it out, the 7 bridges, the old one and the new ones. They're over there, and like I say, over there is South Wales. We're going to go this way into the marina area, and we're going to go and find the original Portishead railway station. And here we are. This is the marina we are in, and it's all very posh and upmarket. It's also very clean. There's no litter around. It really is quite a pleasant place. As for stations, well, not a railway station, but I understand around here at one point there was Portishead Power Station, although part of Portishead Power Station was built on the site of one of the original railway stations. We're just coming up to the site of the first railway station, so we'll see what we can see there, because Portishead has a habit of moving stations about, and by the time the new station opens, yeah, it will have had quite a history of various different railway stations, which we're going to look into. But just, yeah, looking at the size of this place, it's vast. I didn't imagine this marina to be anything like this size. I knew it was going to be here, I just didn't think it'd be this big. And to think none of these people have access to a local railway station. Anyway, let's go and find the site of the first railway station. Well, here we are on a housing estate, same housing estate as the luxury marina area. That is just down that road down there. Here is the site of the original Portishead railway station, which opened in 1867 by the Bristol and Portishead Pier Railway Company. It was built to Brunel's 7'1¼ broad gauge, because the rest of the GWR network at that time was that gauge, so it made sense to build it. It was, of course, later regauged to standard gauge. What happened was this station closed in 1954. Now, it wasn't because then they wanted to deprive Portishead of its railway station. What they did was they closed it, and they, as I already mentioned about the power station, they built a power station on the site here. Seems quite a good place to build a power station, plenty of water you've got nearby, and they moved the station to a more convenient location for the town centre. They built this new railway station in 1954, only to then go and close it 10 years later, which seems, I don't suppose they had any idea that when they opened the new station, Portishead, it was going to be so short-lived. Seems a real shame. Anyway, let's go and find the site of that station. One final footnote on the original railway station. This road here is still called Station Road. And see that line of trees going off where that car park is? That's where the trains would have come from, heading off that way towards Bristol. I'm going to follow that route, and like I say, round there I should find the 1954 station, or at least the site of that station. I'll just follow this curvature of the car park, which, like I say, is the track bed of the original railway into Portishead. Down here, there's the very end of the marina, so like I say, it is pretty vast. So that goes down to where the original station was, and like I say, they built a power station on the site. I may be wrong, but I expect the railway did continue to run along there to serve the power station. Maybe if you're local and you remember if trains did serve the power station, perhaps you could tell me in the comments. What we're going to do now, we're going to cross the road, go back past where the Waitrose is, because I hadn't realised when I was in the Waitrose earlier just how close I was to the site of the 1954 station. And as I walk over there, something else I ought to tell you about. Just crossing here. Yes, you can't do a video on the old railways of Portishead without mentioning the WC&P. No, I'm not talking about toilets. I'm talking about the Western Clevedon and Portishead light railway. That was a light railway which ran from Weston-super-Mare to Portishead, originally just Weston-super-Mare to Clevedon, and then it was later extended, I think it was in 1907, they extended it to Portishead. And it was a light railway, standard gauge, but a light railway. Had a similar character to what some of the heritage lines that have survived, the Kent and East Sussex Railway, East Kent Railway, had that kind of character. It used terriers, and they even pulled some old American clear story carriages and had all sorts of other unusual engines. Maybe one day I'll do a video on that, but that had its own stations, a few in Portishead, and then continued on to Clevedon. Interestingly, when Portishead does get its railway station back, not only will I have to come to Portishead to make a video on the new railway station, but I'll also have to go to Clevedon to make this sort of video, because then Clevedon will become the largest town in Somerset without a railway station once Portishead gets a railway station. So that's the Western Clevedon and Portishead light railway. Maybe one day I'll do a video on that, but there's very little to see of that old railway because it was a light railway. There weren't many earthworks or anything like that. It really just followed the contours of the land. But it must have been a fascinating railway to have seen. I should think there's very few people around today who actually can remember that, but that was the Western Clevedon Portishead Railway. Anyway, it's not particularly exciting, but where those warehouses are and around here, basically this is the site of the 1954 station, and it seems really sort of silly in a way. They built this great big modern station, you know, for holiday makers and to come into Portishead, for locals to travel out of Portishead, and then they go and close it. It seems a real waste. And then, as I say, Portishead hasn't had a railway station ever since, but the railway would have continued off down there. See where those trees are. So my next job is to somehow find my way around the car parks. We're going to go and find the site of the future Portishead railway station. I'm now walking along a path which follows part of the old railway track bed to where I'm hoping they're going to build the new railway station. We're just crossing, well, that's very overgrown, you can see it better on this side. We're just crossing like a creek. You can see old railway bridge. Now look at this, this is something quite exciting to see. As the path, there's another path crosses here, but look at this, what appears to be a bit of wasteland. Look, there are some sleepers. So we're definitely on, we found a form of railway. Now on the bus on the way here, I spotted some bits of old railway with the track still in situ. I don't know if I'm supposed to just walk into here, but anyway, there was no fence and no one to say I couldn't, but look, we have got clearly sleepers and chairs, as if the rails haven't been taken up that long ago. I understand, you know, it did linger on for freight, the station, but this is quite surprising to find, you know, this much track here. Now I understand this has all been cleared for the site of the new railway station. What we're going to do, I'm probably going to go out the way I just came in, because I don't know if I can get out down there. But down there, that's where I think the entrance is going to be. So we're going to go and find that. That's where we can end this video. But I really think in a few years' time, I will be standing at the end of the railway station. As for bringing it back to the 1954 site, that's not really practical or necessary. Okay, in Scotland, when they reopened the Waverley route, they'd knocked down about 60 modern houses, but that was to get it through various towns and villages. Here, as it was a terminus, okay, with the exception of WCMP, but it was a terminus, this new station is going to be a terminus, and there's certainly no plans to reopen the old WCMP, so it will be a terminus again. So there's not really any need to demolish buildings that have been built on the site. You've got a site here which I can't see they're ever going to build on. It's probably protected, not going to build houses or warehouses or shops or anything here, except hopefully a railway station. Anyway, let's go and find where the new entrance shall be. Having just walked along this road a little bit, I can see now what's going to happen. There's going to be some changes around here when the station opens. This bit of roadway, as you see, will go to the front of the station. Now here, this bit of road I think is going to come across here. I found this hole in the hedge, so there's the site of the sleepers, and the road will go off, see where that block of flats is, around the side there, and then beyond that fence, that's where the platform will be. I was thinking it might be going to come into here, but I think the problem is they want to keep that road there. That's probably too useful. It'd create too much traffic to go the other way, although opening the railway should take a lot of traffic off the road. So one more final place to go. Let's go and find the future site of the entrance to the new Portishead railway station. And here we are. This is where the entrance to the new railway station is going to be. I understand it's going to be about here. So like I say, they're rearranging the roads. I think this roundabout is possibly going to disappear, or certainly be altered, because there's going to be the new road, which I said will follow around where that block of flats are. So the entrance to the station will be here. So in a few years' time, hopefully I will be walking up to the new entrance to, yeah, I'll probably be coming the other way actually. I might be getting off a train here. And then this bit of road, I think, is to disappear, because the platform will be here. It's just going to be a single platform station. Whether the route will be double track, because I think it may well be single track with a passing loop at Pill, or possibly double track. I'm not too sure. But about, yeah, let's work this one out. Maybe sort of here the platform's going to be. And if you look that way, that's where we were. That's why I didn't want to walk all the way through here. I mean, it's funny, it's all padlocked up and closed here. Yeah, at the other end you could just walk onto the site. Not as really much to it, it's not, it's an abandoned building to explore. So I think the platform, the entrance will be about there, platform will be here, this bit of road won't be here, and then we cross the road, if I can, get across the road. I'm going to try and cross the road as soon as I can, but looking that way where that fence is, from looking at the railway, what I could see of it, but I say this track down, it reminded me a bit of another railway that is now nearly got its passenger service back, the East-West line going through Winslow and Buckinghamshire. I can remember when that looked very much like this. Look, I'm actually still on track, so might be the largest town in Somerset Town railway station, but here we are, we're on track. We're not going to see a train today. I hope we do in a few years' time. So the platform will run along, let's have a look, along to just down there. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully coming here by train. I've enjoyed my visit here as well. It's a nice town Portishead. It seems a friendly town. Like I say, I commented earlier how clean it all was, which is great. One of the other ones I did when I went to Hoddesdon, large town, Hertfordshire, at railway station, I found that not such a nice place. I found the people there quite rude, and I've had some comments basically telling me never to go back there again. But anyway, Portishead isn't like that. Portishead is a nice place, and it will get a railway station. I'm looking forward to travelling up and down this line when it opens. I'm not saying I won't use the buses here anymore, because possibly what may happen is I may come here by train one day to do a video on Portishead and Peel, getting its railway station back, and then I'll catch a bus to Clevedon, because Clevedon, like I say, will become the new largest town in Somerset without a railway station. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please do feel free to like, share, comment and subscribe. And from standing where I hope to stand in a few years' time, where the platform will be at Portishead looking towards Bristol, thank you very much. Goodbye.